Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're tackling a massive, kind of abstract concept and dragging it right down to your daily business operations. We are looking at India's net zero blueprint. More specifically, we're figuring out how these giant, sweeping national climate pledges actually translate into the very real, very pressing reality for micro, small, and medium enterprises. Look, if you're running a business or you're managing a supply chain, what we're talking about today isn't just some high-level policy theory you can ignore. This is your new operational reality. So here's our game plan. We're going to funnel down systematically from the big macroeconomic national goals straight onto your local factory floor. We'll start with India's net zero trajectory, do a quick reality check for MSMEs, talk about building baseline data, and finally wrap up with the India Net Zero Forum 2026. All right, kicking things off with part one, India's net zero trajectory, the macro view. To figure out where your business needs to be, we really have to grasp the national direction first. Hitting net zero by 2070, yeah, that's the ultimate finish line. But the pathway getting there is driven by very immediate priorities. If we trace the milestones using verified figures from the government's updated nationally determined contributions, this is from March 2026, you can see the momentum. From a 2005 baseline, India had already achieved a 36% reduction in emissions intensity by 2020. Fast forward to February 2026, and the country hit 52.57% non-fossil fuel capacity. All of this lays the groundwork for the 2035 target, which is a 47% reduction in emissions intensity and 60% non-fossil capacity. It's a massive snowball effect building toward 2070. And honestly, this puts into perspective just how incredibly fast things are moving. We're sitting at 52.57% non-fossil power capacity as of February 2026, right? The target for 2035 is 60%. That is astonishingly close. India isn't just talking about some theoretical green transition anymore. The actual physical infrastructure is being deployed at breakneck speed right now. Moving on to part two, reality check for MSMEs, the ground level pivot. Now here's where things get super interesting. Those big national percentages, they don't mean a whole lot when you're just trying to hit a production quota by Friday. We need to shift the focus from the nation as a whole straight to your specific business. Think about this idea. Net zero should not be explained to MSMEs as only a distant 2070 target. That is the absolute core philosophy here. Because if you're treating 2070 as some distant, futuristic problem for the next generation to handle, you are completely missing the reality on the ground. That 2070 target is creating massive, undeniable ripple effects for you today. So what does this actually look like on a Tuesday morning? It translates into strict, unavoidable business pressures. We are talking about the daily choices you make regarding electricity and upgrading equipment for efficiency. It means tightening buyer requirements, because guess what? Your larger corporate clients are definitely demanding your emission data now. It's intense bank due diligence when you apply for a loan. It's about maintaining export competitiveness and navigating way stricter pollution permissions. The green transition isn't a buzzword. It's literally your new daily compliance checklist. Let's clear the air a bit and dispel some common myths, because let's face it, there's a ton of noise out there. The reality is that carbon markets and ESG, that's environmental, social, and governance, they require strict, undeniable verification. The myth floating around is that any MSME can just immediately start earning carbon credits out of thin air, or that you can use ESG purely for marketing and branding purposes, like just throw a green leaf logo on your website, right? It simply doesn't work that way. True green finance opportunities are strictly, absolutely tied to verifiable evidence. Which brings us perfectly to part three, building the baseline data. Let's demystify the process. So how do you actually survive and maybe even thrive under these new pressures? How do you get that hard evidence the banks and buyers want? Well, you've got a choice between a necessary reality and a pretty dangerous empty trap. The trap is making glossy, exciting net zero claims without doing the math to back them up. That is going to fail instantly under any real scrutiny. The necessary reality is way less glamorous, but it is incredibly vital. You have to build your compliance records and baseline data first. You literally cannot participate credibly in this transition without doing that groundwork. And how exactly do you do that? The source material frames this perfectly as the monthly data bridge. It's the ultimate bridge connecting high-level policy to the actual factory floor. It boils down to systematically tracking specific, kind of mundane operational metrics every single month. Your electricity usage, fuel, production output, water, waste, maintenance schedules. That strict discipline, that becomes your baseline. Once you actually have that baseline data, here is the clear, practical playbook to decarbonize. Step 1, energy and process efficiency. Fix the leaks, upgrade the ancient motors. Step 2, cleaner power procurement. Step 3 is fuel switching, assuming it's technically feasible for your specific setup. And Step 4, waste reduction and credible reporting. The huge takeaway here is that foundational reporting and basic efficiency, they have to come way before you try making any massive, expensive infrastructure leaps. Finally, Part 4, India Net Zero Forum 2026, where policy meets corporate demand. Let's look at how all this builds into the broader business ecosystem. The upcoming India Net Zero Forum 2026 is basically the physical meetup for this entire transition. It's where policy, tech, finance, and corporate demand all finally converge in one room. It's hosted by Energy World, happening on June 16, 2026, at the Hyatt Regency in New Delhi. It is a highly concentrated one-day event. Over 8 interactive sessions, 35-plus speakers, 120-plus CXOs, and upwards of 300 attendees from over 100 different companies. It's a critical touchpoint if you're trying to navigate these new regulations. And if you look at the event themes, it reads like a direct answer key to the daily operating pressures we talked about earlier. They're diving into the policy roadmap, the energy transition, ESG and green finance, deep decarbonization for hard-to-abate industries, AI and IoT for emissions reduction, carbon markets, and green power sourcing. It's literally designed to give actionable insights on the stuff keeping business owners awake at night. But hey, let's be real for a second and temper our expectations. Net zero events clarify the direction of policy, finance, and tech. They act as a guide, not a guaranteed shortcut to funding. Showing up isn't a magic wand that instantly secures your compliance benefits or a green loan. However, understanding that strategic roadmap, that is an absolute necessity if you want to stay competitive in the long run. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought for today's explainer. Is your business ready to turn strict climate compliance and baseline data into a powerful competitive advantage? Because right now, the companies that are mastering their monthly data bridge are the exact same ones who are going to secure the green loans, win those huge corporate buyer contracts, and truly thrive in India's net zero trajectory. The future is arriving fast, guys. Take a hard look at your operations today and start measuring. Thanks so much for learning with me, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.